Guest included. This is the fourth monthly presentation in our speaker series on economic and workforce development in the area. And this speaker series was one result of Camden Rotary's 2020 Strategic Plan Initiative. As I would like to just let everybody know that as the program continues, questions should be typed into the general chat category, and we will have moderators who will pass those questions on to Bobby when he gets to the Q&A session. So as a new director of Midcoast School of Technology, Bobby is very excited for the future of career and technical education. Bobby has worked in secondary schools for the last 15 years as a teacher, special ed and social sciences, student service coordinator, and assistant director. He holds a bachelor's degree from the University of Maine at Farmington in secondary special education and a master's degree from the University of Maine in educational leadership. Please join me in welcoming Bobby Deetjen, director of the Midcoast School of Technology.
Thanks, John. So I just need to share my screen for a second. Maybe.
We can see your screen, preparing our future workforce.
Okay, so we are there. Thank you. So first, just to give a little bit of background, I grew up in the Midcoast area in Booth Bay Harbor. Both my parents were school teachers. So career and technical education, and really at that point, vocational education in the state of Maine wasn't even an option for me. I was born and I was going to college, and what that was going to look like was a 4-year degree. It didn't matter what I was interested in, that was my plan. And it was decided for me. And fast forward, I was teaching social sciences, loving every minute of it. I still miss teaching to this day. But one of my students was in a US history class of mine and asked, why do we need to know this, Mr. Deetjen? And I explained kind of, 85% of what I teach you every day, you will use in your lifetime. The other 10 to 15%, depending on the year, we'll see. Maybe it'll come up on a Jeopardy question or something like that. But I really started to analyze education and look at education. And I was given an opportunity to take a student services position at Hancock County Technical Center in Ellsworth. The former assistant principal at Ellsworth High School is now the director there, and knew how committed I was to education. But she also started to see the direction and pathway that a lot of our students were taking. And she invited me over for a tour, and I fell in love with career and technical education. And we'll get into really what CTE is all about, and what it means for us in the Midcoast area. So there was a transition that occurred during the early 90s from traditional vocational education, which in most Maine schools meant the training that the teacher received, they would pass on to their students. There were pros and cons to that model. Pros being they could meet the demands of the local industry really easily. One of the biggest cons, there really wasn't any consistency. Every year was a different type of year. And that isn't necessarily a bad thing. However, when our students would go out into industry representatives were saying, do you know this? Do you know that? And oftentimes the answer was no. So on the federal level and the state level, the Department of Education knew they had to do something. And with the Carl Perkins grant, they decided to move it in a direction where industry was really driving what was taking place in our schools. So industry standards were adopted. Typically, national organizations or state organizations would come together and really decide what students needed to know when they left a high school program. And they could be going down multiple pathways. So if they were going to go on to school for more training, or they're going into the military for more training, or they were going to go directly into industry, what those students needed to have. It also really began the process of what we call concurrent enrollment opportunities. So students that are in our classes, and our teachers are serving as adjunct faculty for an approved or an accredited university or college or community college, and students are earning credit in both places. For instance, we have our design technology class where students can earn up to 15 college credits in 2 years, which they don't have to pay for. 15 college credits is a full semester worth of school. So you have not only the cost savings, but also the time savings for those students. And they can also earn industry certifications. So having students leave here with a valuable certification or license that they can seek employment with. So whatever their plans are, they have something that they're leaving school with. So whenever we say CTE, that is the difference. It is a much more streamlined process. Students end up leaving here with a lot of valuable certifications and licenses and college credits. Now, graduation rates, right at 95%. Can everyone see my screen? And we're at 95%.
We're still at the preparing our workforce, our future workforce.
Okay, we are actually sharing 2 screens at once. That is why. I apologize.
There we go.
Okay, so that's where we were. Let's slide this over. And through the process of career and technical education, we've actually started to see higher graduation rates. Nationally, 95% of students that participate in career and technical education graduate. And if we look at a more traditional model, the model that I went through and a lot of others went through, was 84%. And really the reason is students are seeing what they're learning in the classroom and then applying it directly to what they're studying. They all have a common interest when they attend Midcoast School of Technology. They've chosen to come to our school. They have to apply to come in to get into our school. And in some cases, it's a very competitive process. We have some programs that we have 30 to 40 applicants, and we can only actually accept 12 students. And those are challenges that we're currently working through because we want every student to have an opportunity to come here. However, with the change in how our country currently is looking at trades, we're starting to see a whole different shift take place. And we know there's a skills gap, and that's part of the speaker series that you've been listening to. There's a significant skills gap all across Maine. Just this morning, we received a call from a local contractor asking for graduates, knowing that he needed to call now because if he waited until June, students would be snatched up already. And we receive those calls on a daily basis from local employers, and in some cases, nationally. We've had businesses from as far away as Wisconsin calling, asking for employees. And we actually had a business from Houston, Texas, looking for students that were shipping, trying to attract those students as well. So this is just kind of a little bit of a glimpse into the skills gap. And this is a national study done by the American Manufacturers Association. And it was looking at from 2018 to 2028. And we'll be 2.4 million manufacturers short. Now that is machinists to welders. And when we look at what we're doing in this country, as far as meeting that demand, I really think we're doing everything that we can, but we're waiting for that education pendulum to swing back to reality, in my opinion. And these are high wage careers. When we were looking for a welding teacher not too long ago, we ended up hiring a man from Kansas, and he was responsible for a canister company and overseeing welders. 130 welders that he oversaw. And a third of those welders were making six figures. And when we look at starting level at his place of employment was 60,000. And that was the high school student that had graduated from a career and technical school looking for a job. So we're really looking at these occupations and wondering, okay, how do we actually fulfill the need? Because when you're looking at 2.4 million seats, that by far outpaces what we're looking at in other careers. I'll give you an example. Google really is looking at computer science, coding. We see coding at almost every single school across the country. When we look at how many people are needed in computer science, we're around 100,000. Yet we're at 2.4 for manufacturing by 2028. That's what we're short. That does not include really replacing the manufacturers that we're seeing at retirement age as well. Degrees. We're starting to see a change here, and please do not get me wrong. I believe in furthering your education any way that you can. It's going to happen throughout your entire career. You should be looking for more education in some way. But really, this thought, and we've all seen those graphics, the higher the degree level that you have, the more you're going to make over your lifetime. That was true about 30 years ago. It is no longer consistent from state to state. Texas, Colorado, Alaska have all started to see associate's degrees out earning bachelor's degrees. And that doesn't get into the return on investment for the cost of schooling. The average student that goes to the University of Maine system is going to pay about $100,000 for their education. They're going to leave school about $26,000 in debt. If we look at the cost of an associate's degree that maybe one of our students is pursuing in welding manufacturing or an automotive collision, any carpentry, any of those fields, they're going to pay about $22,000 for their education. That is tuition and room and board included. Most of our students will have zero debt if they go to a community college looking into those associate's degrees. Now, part of the problem is really our education system and what we've started to focus on. And trust me, there are a lot of things that we need to look at, but this is one of them. And it's really helping students understand what the reality is and what they need for future training. So if we look at the career skills ratio, and this ratio has been in existence throughout time. If we look at one master's degree, for every one master's degree, you need 2 employees that have bachelor's degrees, and you need 7 people that have associate's degrees or certifications. Now you can kind of compare that to a business. For every owner, you need 2 managers and you need 7 certified employees that are doing the work. And this hasn't changed, period. Yet our training has. So when we're looking at how we are prepping young students, we're prepping them on a 1:7:2 ratio. So that's what we're training at. So for every master's degree, we have 7 people that are earning a bachelor's degree, and we have 2 people that are earning an associate's degree or a certification. Remember, businesses have not changed at all in what they're doing necessarily. So when it comes to this, that's why there's such a significant need in the number of people that are certified. An interesting statistic that I got from the American Career and Technical Education Association. If we think about the number of jobs that are out there and what they need for training, again, we're looking at the value of an associate's degree and the value of a certification. When we think about just the overall cost of going to a four-year school for a student, really the return on investment has to be there at this point in time. And we're seeing more and more and more jobs that are out there that require a certification and not a degree necessarily. So from 91 to 2016, we saw an 83% jump for jobs that were going to pay $55,000 or more without a bachelor's degree. That is a pretty incredible statistic when we're looking at what is actually needed when students are leaving school. Now, that's not to say our education system is completely broken. It's not. But when we're looking at what we have to do for training and just informing students, one of the first questions that we tend to ask in education, and I was guilty of this for years, was asking a student what college they were going to, instead of first asking them what they were interested in doing. What career are you interested in doing? And then what skills do you need to be able to pursue that career? And then say, what schools are going to align to your desired career? That's the step that needs to happen and can often be difficult because it's very time consuming. So how does Midcoast School of Technology actually fall into the equation? So what we offer here, and there are going to be some things that I'll address at the end that we don't offer, and I'll explain why. Because generally I get a lot of questions around electrical and plumbing. So I will get to those things later. First up, I sorted these by career clusters. There are 16 career clusters that are recognized by the Department of Education. The first one, the cluster is arts and design. We have one program that falls into here and is design technology. So students are coming to us learning about audio and film, interactive media, animation, and graphic design. When I say interactive media, this is when that computer science side comes into play. If you ask a lot of teenagers, you're going to find millions that want to design video games. That's great. However, there aren't millions of careers in video game design. However, the programming that goes into a video game is very similar to what you're going to find in any computer science degree or career. So we tend to guide them into that field. The two students that are on screen here, Emma and John, just won first place at the Strand's local youth competition, and both very, very successful young filmmakers. Transportation. Second to carpentry, we probably get more calls about students that are in these fields than any other. So auto collision, auto technology, small engines, and marine technology. Auto collision, a student can earn a full ICAR Platinum certification with us. That's the same certification that you need to go and do insurance work at larger collision centers. And we've had a few students that have earned that certification. That certification, if you were to go and earn that at a trade school or a career and technical education school after high school, you would be looking at anywhere between $22,000 to $50,000 for that same certification, and a student can get it with us in 3 years. If they were to start attending with us their sophomore year and started to go through the ICAR online courses at the same time, they would have that certification by the time they left high school. Auto technology, our students are doing electrical and brakes and suspension. Kind of think of the skills that you would need to be able to enter a dealership and start working in one of their garages there as an entry-level employee. We encourage all of our students after they graduate from our school to go to another either a community college or a trade school to continue on. That's where they'll pick up a lot of their transmission and engine work and really round their skills as a technician. Small engines, we work on everything. So depending on the day, we'll have I signed a work order for a wood chipper. Yesterday, I signed an order for a side-by-side. We do a lot of power sports, and there is a significant need in this area. If a student wants to look at, okay, on the coast of Maine, I've got a lot of outboard engines, and finding an outboard tech is almost impossible right now. But during the winter, if I want to switch to power sports, I can do that and work on sleds. There's lawn mowing equipment. I mean, you can just continue on. The possibilities are really endless. And then we look at marine technology. We have some of the best boat building facilities in the country. And we kind of take that for granted on the coast of Maine. And we also look at the service industry, Lyman Morse, Front Street Shipyard in Belfast. Their journeys end, there are infinite number of possibilities for students when they leave high school. And we're trying to make them as well-rounded as possible when they leave us. So they've experienced some outboard engine repair. They've done some fiberglass patching. They've done some electrical wiring of trailers and boats, as well as some of the joinery. So if they want to go to Back Cove Yachts, they can seek employment there, or they can go to a Front Street Shipyard and work as a marine tech. The manufacturing side, as you saw, there's a significant need. We just met with BIW yesterday. And I think another group of students, we're meeting with them this morning. BIW is looking to fill 2,700 spots by 2023. 2,700 is a significant number. Anywhere from your basic welding to your machining to your carpentry. They pretty much hire everything. And we've had several students that have left our program and gone to BIW. We have several students that are working at Fisher and Steel Pro. We have some very great relationships with all of those companies, and it allows students to really pursue kind of any type of career that they want in this area. And at any time I talk about manufacturing, people kind of step back and say, well, you don't know if I want my kid going to manufacturing, because in their mind, they have the old view of what a facility was like, that it was dangerous, it was dirty, it was loud, smelly. That couldn't be further from the truth anymore. When we look at the OSHA regulations that our facilities have to really look at, students are safe as anything, and they're doing very, very well. New program, or newish program for us, is composites manufacturing. So looking at different types of composite materials. They've done some pretty cool longboard decks this year and partner with some other programs. They're going to start playing around with carbon fiber and Kevlar. If you're familiar with some of the boat building facilities or businesses in the area, they're not just fiberglass anymore, especially the companies that are looking for contracts with the Department of Defense. If we look at a company, and I'm a little bit biased with this one, like Hodgson Yachts down in East Boothbay, Maine, they have a facility where they're building boats for the Department of Defense, almost 100% out of Kevlar and carbon fiber. And when we look at those materials, they react very, very differently than a fiberglass does.
I had the volume way down.
Hospitality and tourism. Again, we're surrounded by incredible restaurants, but also an area that really has a lot of options for people. And we have two incredible chefs, Shelby Stevens, who was the executive chef at Natalie's with her husband, Chris. And then Charles Butler, who was the executive chef at the Waterfront for many years and still helps out there. And these students are going to go through the program 1 year in baking and pastry, 1 year in culinary arts. And when they leave from us, they have a really good idea of what happens in a restaurant. So not only do they know the kitchen, but they also know the front of the house, and getting to interact with customers is a really important skill for them to have. We've had students that have gone and worked directly in local restaurants out of high school, but we've also had students that have gone on to the highest level of culinary schools that you can go to. Kind of the ideal school or Ivy League of the culinary world is the Culinary Institute of America in upper state New York. We've had several students that have graduated from the CIA. And one in particular, Brianna Gross, who was a graduate from Madomic Valley Middle School or High School, graduated there and went to Cornell's program, which is also attached to the CIA, and ended up being selected as the Gala Chef, Executive Chef of the Year, and is just taking off in the culinary world. Outdoor leadership, as you heard Chris say, his son is in the program. This program is quickly becoming one of our most sought after when it comes to schools, and it's only in its second year. Students are going to have an opportunity to sit for a Maine guide license, but they're going to try out every type of adventure tourism industry that you can. They start off with some flat water kayaking, canoeing, and then they start doing some rivers, and they start doing some sea kayaking, but they also do your hikes and climbs. And the point of the program is really focused on how do you bring other people together and how do you lead them on expeditions. It's not going on the expeditions yourself, even though that experience is great. It's about becoming a leader. And we have students that are going in a lot of different directions with this. We've had students that have gone directly into the military academy. We've had students that are interested in conservation law, and we have students that are interested in opening up their own business. So they'll leave us and they'll go to a program in business administration, and their whole purpose is to really seek out opportunities after school and to run their own guide service. Public safety, we have EMT and firefighting. So EMT basic licensure, students are going to be able to work directly in the back of an ambulance or in an emergency room as an emergency room tech. Many of these students are looking to become paramedics or full-time firefighters. Nikki Falley, who is a graduate of Camden Hills Regional High School, went through this pathway. She took both programs from us. When she graduated from high school, she had 19 college credits. She dual majored as a firefighter and a paramedic at Southern Maine Community College. When she graduated, she had zero debt and was actually being paid to go to school as a live-in firefighter in Goodwin's Mills. So there are a lot of different opportunities for her. She is both a full-time firefighter and a full-time paramedic down in Southern Maine. This picture here, we learned from our mistakes. Let's just put it that way. We did not inform the fire department that we were doing a burn on campus or smoke out on campus. So someone did call the fire department and asked if we were on fire or not. We were not. Luckily, no one arrived. They called beforehand. But that training facility is one that we're sharing with local departments as well. So inside the 7 Connex kind of containers that make up the building, we have different stairwells that go through, and we can smoke it completely out. So our students have to communicate with one another. They do a tremendous job working as a team. Health sciences. So we have 2 different pathways with this, but we encourage students to do both. And we start with medical science. That's our recommendation for a student's junior year. And it's a college level anatomy and physiology and medical terminology class. They earn medical terminology credit for that. And they're learning from an RN with 40 years of experience. I usually would tell students when I would be bringing them around for a tour, I learned my anatomy and physiology from Mrs. Hersom. She was the best teacher in the world. I loved her to death, but she learned her anatomy and physiology from her high school science teacher as well. If you go into Monique Moreau's classroom, you get blown away every day. She'll say, well, this is when I saw this, or this doctor performed this and sent us footage on it. And students really start to understand how to apply their anatomy and physiology and their medical terminology to the career field that they're interested in. And they get to explore it. And that's the tough part of a COVID year. Our students aren't going to be able to pursue a lot of the different job shadows that they would normally be able to go on. But they're being troopers. I mean, they're doing as much as they can through a virtual setting if they're looking to shadow. And then our CNA class, we pride ourselves in putting students out into the field as quickly as possible. They have 80 hours of clinical time. The state of Maine requires 70, but we like our students to be out in the fields and actually seeing what is happening. And about anywhere, depending on the year, 75 to 90%. We've had one year that 100% of our students went on to nursing school or went into another medical related field where they could apply that experience. And I often get kind of the question, well, does a student need to be a CNA to be a registered nurse? And you don't. However, as a 16 or a 17-year-old student, finding out if you like to work with patients or not, and you like the medical field before you go and spend anywhere between $25,000 and $55,000 on a nursing program in 1 year, it's probably a good opportunity for you to find out if you like working with patients or not. Every year we have 1 or 2 students that decide this isn't for me. If they see blood or anything else, they decide, this isn't my choice career pathway, and that's fine. That's one of the points of our school, is to give them an opportunity to try stuff out. And if it's not, that's okay. Construction, our carpentry program right now is kind of going through a transition. We just hired a new teacher after Dan Dishner, Camden resident, an incredible teacher was hired. And we're going for a rough carpentry in the first year. So how to build a basic structure like you see on your screen, to then looking at cabinet making and basic furniture making in the second year. So students can choose which career pathway they want to go in after they leave high school. And then pre-engineering, although it fits in 2 different career clusters, I grouped it in right now with the construction. Our students are learning mechanical engineering. They're getting a taste of civil engineering, and that's why it's in this group. Really finding out if engineering is a field that they want to go into, and they see as many different engineering fields as we can possibly expose them to. Most people just say, well, if you want to make a lot of money, be an engineer, but it really depends on what type of engineer that you want to be. And it also gives them an opportunity to explore those fields before they make a commitment later on. And we do have satellite programs. Our CT exploratory program, which used to be housed at Midcoast School of Technology, is now housed at Camden Hills Regional High School, at Madomic Valley, and at Oceanside. So it gives students an opportunity to try out a career and technical education program while they're still at their high school and getting all their necessary required credits, and then make a choice when they are ready. And then our cooperative education program is housed at all 3 larger schools as well, and gives students an opportunity to gain that valuable experience working and earn high school credit at the same time. These 2 students on your screen, Jacob is on the left and Elliot is on the right. They both went through an exploratory program with us and have been with us every step of the way. But it gave them an opportunity to try different things out. And they both decided on machining, and never would have if they hadn't gone through the exploratory. I always like to talk about some success and really what it looks like. This is Liza Clark, Camden Hills graduate. And Liza came for our auto collision program for 3 years. And Liza just lit the CTE world on fire when she walked in. She is an amazing young woman. She came here, did a great job, and then went on to Northern Maine Community College, where she dual majored in structural welding and auto collision. And she was hired as the first female technician at POC. POC is a collision center in Sanford. They're one of 5 groups or collision centers that make up one group. And it's the second largest collision center or group behind Moody's. And she walked in very, very confident as a 20-year-old technician, and quickly rose to the ranks of assistant manager for them, and will just continue to rise. And at 21 years old, she purchased her first house. She was debt-free from schools, and doing just a great job representing Midcoast School of Technology. Russell McKenna took machine tool and graduated 2 years ago. Russell attended Wentworth Institute of Technology last year in mechanical engineering, and was bored. Just a gifted young man, but looked at machining in a different way of what he could do with it and how it was going to make him a better engineer. Right now, the picture that's on your screen, Russell is working at our CNC mill, and he was programming a part for an electric engine that he built completely from scratch. Just stock metal. He built every single piece of the electric engine. And he just transferred to the Colorado School of Mines, which really is focused on research. And that's what Russell would like to do as a career. Every day here is an adventure. That's how we look at it. And it gives students an opportunity to try different things out. On your screen is Elliot Johnson, a senior at Medamac Valley Middle or High School. And he wanted to make a round end on a piece of brass. And you can't do that just by taking your standard cutting tool. Generally, you have to purchase a special tool. And Elliot didn't want to, so he made his own. And that's what he's holding in his hand right there. And then the finished piece of brass is in his hand on the left side. And this is a good picture of our outdoor leadership program. When they were climbing, every single day is an adventure for that program, definitely. And it's just a lot of fun. So I can open it up to questions and
Yeah, thank you very much, Bobby. I know we do have a slew of questions, so I'm going to turn it over to Rich Anderson and Matt Brown, and they can take it from there. And Bobby, if you wouldn't mind just unsharing your screen, we can proceed.
Yep.
Rich, it's all you.
Hey, hi, Bobby. Thank you very much for a great presentation. Pretty exciting. We have some questions from Stephanie French. Want to know, do homeschoolers participate in the school, and must they go through the high school or contact you directly to discuss filling a slot in their educational experience?
Sure. So homeschooled students do participate at Midcoast School of Technology. They do have to enroll for the program at their high school that they live in, the district they live in. It's a pretty quick process, and if you need help, feel free to reach out to us and we'll help guide you through it. If you live in the Camden district, Angie Carlson is a registrar, and she's done it 100 times and is really helpful when it comes to getting enrolled for a CTE program.
Thanks, Bobby. This comes from James Bowditch. Beyond the design courses you mentioned, are there opportunities for dual degrees through the university system?
So we do not have anything currently on site right now for the university system. We do offer a chemistry course through the University of Maine at Augusta, Rockland, URock, that is taught here, but we're not offering any degrees currently through our school. We are expanding our post-secondary offerings. Kennebec Valley Community College is a partner of ours. And although it took a little bit of time to get that partnership off the ground, it's there. And we're looking at the potential of a business degree in-house, focusing on our students and community members that want to be entrepreneurs, and either a business administration degree or looking at an entrepreneur certificate.
Okay, another one from Beverly Scott. Can a post-high school student study with you and get an associate's degree or professional certification?
So the professional certification, definitely. Postgraduate years are harder and harder to come by. For people that are not familiar with the process, students in the past that have graduated from our region have been able to continue on at Midcoast School of Technology free of charge until they're 21 years of age. And after that, it would give them an opportunity to pay tuition to complete or finish up a program. However, we have to offer a spot in a program to a high school student first. That is state law. However, if there is an open spot after that, we can offer it to a recent graduate.
Great, thanks. This comes from Diane Lebson. In addition to the specific trades that Midcoast School of Technology teaches, do the students learn other valuable skills that will help them become engaged citizens, e.g. critical thinking, etc.?
Great. Yes. So there's a study about critical thinking skills and career and technical education students, how they actually matched up against students that didn't attend a CT school. And they outperformed the other students because every day they're running into challenges. So if it's, why isn't my engine running on this weed whacker, or why, or if someone comes with a project for our welding group and they have to figure out how to actually construct something that's going to work. Those are problem solving skills that are coming at those students all the time, every day. And you just don't get that type of opportunity in a traditional classroom setting, coming from a traditional academic teacher.
Okay, from Joan Fopp. Many teens would not know how to answer the question, what career would you like to pursue? How do you help students explore their options and choose a course of study?
You're absolutely right. So students that come in, we give them a tour early on. We try to have students come into our school in the 8th grade and just take a look around. And that's when we're starting to talk about different careers that they could possibly look into. Their 9th grade year, we're going to come and talk to them again, and we're going to bring students that have started to explore different career fields. 10th grade, in the future, we're going to be having them come here again to revisit and just check things out. Ultimately, we have school to career coordinators that are at each high school that will help students really explore what options they do have after school. And they act as incredible liaisons between our high schools and our school here. So unfortunately, we don't have a system in the state of Maine that really focuses on career exploration. And I'm hopeful that at some point in time, the Department of Ed will make that a requirement for all students to look at different career opportunities during each of their 4 years of high school, so they know what's available. I often give kind of my own experience to students as an example. I knew about 5-6 different career fields out there when I graduated from high school. I knew about education, I knew about law, I knew about the medical fields, but I didn't understand what was actually possible, in what directions I could go in.
Here's one from John Goss. Bobby, what percentage of your graduates take jobs locally versus out of the area or out of state?
That's a year-to-year kind of answer, really. Each year is a little bit different. So most years we're going to have about 25 to 30% of our students that go directly out into this area and work. But that doesn't mean those students that have gone on to either 2-year or 4-year schools aren't going to come back and work in this area as well. We've had several students that have done that within the last 8 years. This is my 9th year here. So we've had students that have been coming back quite a few. In the Midcoast area, we're starting to see the younger population moving back to the area. And when I say younger, I'm talking anywhere between 35 and 20. And the other thing that I should mention, this area is incredibly attractive to kids. They love being here. It's a different place or a different region in the state of Maine, as all of you know, because you've chosen to live here. But our students that go away and they experience, let's say, a machine shop in Western Maine or in Southern Maine, they generally will come back to Midcoast and work in a machine shop locally.
Okay, this is, I guess, is somewhat, it is very much closely related. What can you, we or others do to encourage more graduates to stay? Do you need to work at encouraging them to stay, or is that pretty normal?
It really comes down to just informing them of what their options are in the state of Maine. There's really no way of hanging on to everyone. And I think everyone needs to have that opportunity to explore different areas in different career fields as well, and then make their choice up. I look at a lot of the families that are choosing to move back here or to move here. They're doing it because they know how safe it is, the opportunities that are in the area, both not from just a working standpoint, but also really looking at the enjoyment of living on the coast of Maine. This population, when we, show students around, and what we're receiving from national data is they don't care as much as far as how much they're making. They want to know what their life is going to be like and how much enjoyment they're going to have outside of the work life. So this area offers a whole lot. So the state of Maine has a lot going for it when it comes to that.
Thanks.
Okay, Matt,
As we're getting down on time, I'm going to skip to another one from John Goss, because you mentioned you would talk about it. Where do students pursue an education in the fields of plumbing or electrical?
Yes, sorry. So when we look at electrical and plumbing, and first, the reason why we don't have electrical and plumbing is because it's kind of a complex path to getting a new program at a career and technical school. We have to show that there is strong student interest for many years to come. We have to survey all of the students from 6th grade to 10th grade throughout the region and ask, is this something that you would do? And we have to give them options. Outdoor leadership was our latest program that went through it, and it was up against electrical, plumbing, law enforcement, green energy, and HVAC. All things that are needed in this Midcoast area. And when push came to shove, we only saw about 5 to 7 students each school that we went to that said, I might be interested in one of those fields out of 200 to 300 students. So if they come to us and they're interested in those career fields, we direct them to carpentry and we direct them to our pre-engineering program. Both areas are going to explore those career fields.
Okay, let me real quick. Dennis Moomin, a Rotary guest, says, are you enrolled at capacity? If not, why not?
We're still building capacity, though. This year, the majority of our programs had a wait list going in. So it's really, we had about 320 students that applied and enrolled, and we could probably take anywhere between 1 or 2 more students in each of our programs. So we're pretty much there.
Okay, Chris?
Bob, I think we could go on question and answers after a presentation like that for hours. I really wanted to thank you for sharing your school, the community school really, and all the good work and programs that you're doing there. As I said before, I can vouch. My son, I don't know if everybody heard earlier, but my son's taking a class there, and he just really, really enjoys it. So thank you very much for all you're doing for the community there.